So Season 5 Reloaded is here, and in this one we're going to be breaking down the changes that you need to know on a fundamental level. We've already broken down the content changes and additions by our videos the last few days, but today I wanted to focus on specific changes that are much needed, weapon tuning, and a little more along the way. So as we go along, drop your thoughts down below on what you think of these changes in regards to Modern Warfare 2 Season 5 Reloaded. Anything you find good, bad, or you just maybe find interesting, whatever the case, drop your thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to stay up to date with more Modern Warfare 2 content with Season 5 Reloaded and beyond, Modern Warfare 3, and things like X Defiant still upcoming as well. I'd love to have in the community and keep you informed with all you need to know. And finally, check out my friends over at G Fuel for 30% off certain items in the month of August with code Espresso, but more on that a little later. For now, let's jump into the Modern Warfare 2 Season 5 Reloaded changes. So for reference, again, yes, of course, we do have those bigger items, a new multiplayer map of DRC Zone 1, a new Warzone map change where Observatory is blown up from the event, Fort Resurgence, that new Resurgence experience that is the Al Bagra Fortress surrounding areas, the new modes, new weapons, new camo challenges, and so on. But again, let's talk about the changes here that actually are affecting gameplay, not necessarily the content that we've gone over a couple of times. Let's start out with weapon tuning, because surprisingly, there's Modern Warfare 2 specific tuning for the first time in a long time. I want to say at least like 2 seasons, but a decent number of weapons were actually adjusted for Modern Warfare 2 firstly. Then we also saw some Warzone specific changes, so we'll go on into those in just a little bit. Before the Modern Warfare 2 specific tuning, we saw things like the F-TAC Siege that had an increased close to mid damage range. The ISO 45 had an increased damage range. The Lockman Sub had a reduced close distance damage. The FR Avancer had an increased damage range, as well as a reduced hip spread. That reduced hip spread going across the board as well, though, so not only Modern Warfare 2 for that one part. There's a couple of things here that are crossover, but not a whole ton. They segmented it pretty well. Beyond that, we saw the Tempest Razorback. That increased the damage range in Modern Warfare 2 only. The M16 saw an increased close to mid damage distance damage range. The Kastov 74U saw a reduction in the damage range. The ISO Hemlock saw a reduction in the mid to far distance damage range. The TAC V saw an increase to the damage range. The Cronin Squall as well increased to the damage range. Same with the SO14. Same with the Lockman 762, increases to those damage ranges. The Lockwood 300 saw a reduction in the mid distance damage range, as well as the Slug and HE Slug attachments saw an increase to the damage range, as well as increased long range damage amount. You'll see that kind of replicated in the next 2 weapons that were adjusted with the Bryson 890 and the Bryson 800. The Bryson 890 saw a reduction in the damage range, but the Slugs and HE Slug attachments saw an increase to that damage range. The Bryson 800 saw a slightly reduced mid-distance damage range, and the Slugs and HE Slugs saw, again, increased damage ranges as well as increase to the long-range damage amount. The SAB saw an increase to the ADS speed, ADS movement speed, and increased damage range. The Lockwood Mark II saw an increase to the ADS speed and ADS move speed. The SPR 208 saw an increase to the long distance damage range. The EBR 14 saw a reduction in the damage range. The HCR 56 saw an increase to the mid distance damage range, and the RAP H as well saw an increase to the mid distance damage range. The snipers, the Carrick 300 saw an increase to the close range damage, upper arm location damage, long distance damage range, and additionally increases to the ADS to hip transition speed, hip movement speed, and sprint speed. The FGX Imperium saw an increase to the ADS speed, ADS move speed, and a small reduction to the hip fire spread. The Signal 50 saw a reduction in the close distance damage range, and the SPX 80 saw a reduction in the damage range for Modern Warfare 2 only. So that's your Modern Warfare 2 centric changes. Again, a couple of those things also carried over to the global changes as well, but for the most part, that is the first weapon tuning that we've seen for Modern Warfare 2 in, again, a long time. Can't tell you off the top of my head how long it's been, but I do truly want to say it's been at least 2 seasons, because that's been something that we've talked about and kind of harped on the last 2 seasons, that, well, Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer didn't really get a whole ton of attention. Not necessarily just, not even in content, but also in any adjustments that fine-tune things. So interesting to see all these weapon changes, and now might be getting them ready for carryover into Modern Warfare 3 perhaps, testing some more base tuning perhaps, but we'll see how that all works out. But that was the Modern Warfare 2 changes. For Warzone only changes, they mentioned that the focus was on introducing further viability into long-range engagement spaces. So bear that in mind. You're going to see a lot of stuff to damages, to damage ranges, and other things like that adjusted here with this. The Chimera, starting out the assault rifles, saw a close damage increase, a far damage increase, a head damage multiplier increase, and a lower torso damage multiplier increase. A very good change on paper. Might make this one of the strongest sniper support weapons here coming out of this, but we'll have to see how it all plays out. On paper and how it actually feels can sometimes be two very different things. The FR Advancer saw a close damage increase and a far damage increase. The ISO Hemlock saw a close to mid damage range reduction and a mid damage range reduction as well. So for whatever reason, they're doing my boy the Hemlock real dirty here at this one, just like they did with the Minibok in Season 5's launch. This being one of those weapons that was kind of already dead, so why you beating the dead horse and just knocking it down a peg even further? Find that one kind of funny, but the Lockman 556 moving along saw a head damage multiplier increase, a neck damage multiplier increase, and an upper torso damage multiplier increase as well. The M13B saw all location damage multipliers increased, so that including head, chest, limb, torso, all that kind of stuff. The M13C saw a close damage increase, a mid damage increase, and all locational damage multipliers increased as well. The M4 saw a close damage range increase and a close to mid damage range increase. The STB 556 saw a head damage multiplier increase. The Tempest Razorback saw a close damage range increase and a close to mid damage range increase. The Cronin Squall, what I would say is right now the undisputed meta weapon of Warzone ranked, perhaps. That, well, on paper, again, it got absolutely eviscerated. We saw it decreased to the head damage multiplier, neck damage multiplier, upper torso damage multiplier, lower torso damage multiplier, and to the limb damage multipliers. So while the base weaponry damage statistics haven't been adjusted, basically anywhere you hit on the body, it's going to do less damage just because of those multipliers in a practical sense. So again, on paper, eviscerated. If it is something that we see this actually adjusted in feel and how it plays in game, we'll have to wait and see. We saw that all launchers have now had their damage against players decreased, that being something that previously was one-shot killing players, and in ranked we'll talk about, those have for the most part been taken out. The RPK saw a close to mid damage decrease, a close damage range decrease, and a headshot damage multiplier increase. Kind of interesting because it kind of feels like they're reeling back the changes they made with Season 5's update, kind of giving life to the RPK once again, but now killing it a little further. The Socket MG38 saw a neck damage multiplier decrease, upper torso damage multiplier decrease, and a limb damage multiplier decrease. The Lockwood Mark II, all locational damage multipliers were increased. As well, the Bryson 800 and Bryson 890 both saw lower limb damage multipliers increased. The Bass P for Warzone only saw a neck damage multiplier increase, upper torso damage multiplier increase, lower torso damage multiplier increase, and a limb damage multiplier increase. So hopefully giving the Bass P, at least in a sort of gulag sense, because you know they're not going to change any of the weapons in the gulag or give us a new gulag, hopefully that 30-round piece of garbage doesn't actually get you killed every single time you try and use it, or you have to use an entire mag to secure a kill. Anyways, the Fennec 45 also saw a neck damage multiplier increase and an upper torso damage multiplier increase, and the final weapon tuning adjustment was the Veil 46, where the limb damage multipliers were increased. So a lot of weapon tuning across Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone, but honestly, I'm kind of happy to see that we did see so many weapons touched, even if some of them aren't necessarily exactly what I wanted. The ISO 45 is getting pretty boring to use as a main meta SMG, but has not been touched within Warzone. Same thing kind of with the Lockman sub. No adjustments, neither positive nor negative across either of those weapons within Warzone. So that's something to consider here with this. Additionally, we saw in Warzone new audio. That's something that is mentioned in Season 5 Reloaded. They introduced the same occlusion systems that Core 6v6 maps use for all Warzone maps. So players should notice improved occlusion, that being noticing footsteps between different types of surfaces, sand, dirt, metal, grass, wood, concrete, that kind of stuff. You should notice now differences in how those will sound if all things do work as planned. There's a play again feature in multiplayer where after each match, all players, or specifically solo players and designated party leaders, can opt to stay in the same game. I don't know why they just don't stop disbanding lobbies at that point. There's a friend recommender introduced here. We saw a number of different bug fixes introduced across Warzone, but the biggest one recognized was a fixed issue where meleeing with a throwing knife equipped would fully down an armored player in one hit. That's something that has been plaguing Warzone ranked right now, and it's the cheesiest thing, and Thankfully, it's fixed. Again, on paper, hopefully that actually does hold up in game. We've seen that happen many times where fixes have been mentioned and they just don't happen. So fingers crossed that actually is something. But I'm noticeably disappointed in a lack of mention on two things. One is a bit more cherry-picked and perhaps rarer to the overall player base. But number one, games sometimes do not track SR gains in Warzone Ranked, but certainly they track the losses. My squad alone just lost out on a couple hundred SR last night, just off the top of my head here, where this happened to us, where every game we lost tracked, but some of the ones that we won didn't. Number two, the stim pistol insta-death bug still persists, or it wasn't mentioned in these changes with the patch notes. And this is one that is caused by a player picking up a stim pistol that is not at full capacity. So you've used it at least once on your teammate, maybe you trolled an enemy here and you got him back up before downing him again, or you picked it up off a dead player, whatever the case. If it has any less than those 4 allotted ticks of use, if it's in your field upgrade slot or in your inventory, you will die instantly if shot. You won't go into a down state. And if I can interject, breaking away from objectivity here for just a second, this is just appalling to me. This one in particular, absolutely. There's a couple of things that really frustrate me out of a lack of changes here with this, but this one in particular is absolutely frustrating. This has been persisting since, I want to say, Season 3 Reloaded, maybe even earlier. It was 100% a bug around launch that was squashed pretty quickly, but then returned in Season 3 Reloaded, I want to say again. I want to say it's like 2 seasons at this point, so a third of the year that we've had to play this game with this bug not being fixed. At this point, I partially do wonder, truly, like, if they just don't play the game and use this kind of stuff to know that it's an issue. Like, how does it go on for that long? It's already frustrating enough that we have game-breaking bugs that they won't fix immediately, but they'll fix the store. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. If a bundle isn't showing up properly, they'll fix that within 2 hours of the bug being known. But some genuinely game-breaking things here and things that truly ruin the gameplay experience, we have to wait once a month to hope that the next update fixes it. That's just the incredibly frustrating part here to me about this and so many other stuff. But anyways, back to objectivity here with this. Warzone changes. There's apparently adjusted audio mix for parachutes, including increased volume to the incoming enemy parachutes. Much needed. I feel like you can't hear that at all sometimes, even if your volume is cranked in your headset. For Ranked, we saw matchmaking improvements that apparently is reducing the time that it takes for Warzone matches to be found. They've restricted new weapons in Warzone Ranked for the RPG-7 and the Strela P. Again, big changes there and definitely welcome ones because those are the ones that would insta-kill any player once hit. Doesn't really do too much for competitive integrity when you have that kind of stuff. There are bug fixes where one of which was an issue causing the amount of ammunition picked up to display incorrectly. I'm hoping that's in relation to picking up SMG ammo quite literally anytime you run over it, even if you have a full stack of 150 in reserve and you don't choose to take another stack, then it just automatically put it in your inventory. That was one that it incredibly irritated me. So hopefully that's fixed out. We saw some DMZ fixes, which the first one they mentioned though was that the Season 5 announcement blog feature of the host leave party, that's not going to be introduced here at this. So we still don't have any clarity on if that's truly like them getting rid of dedicated servers and being peer-to-peer connection, that they're downgrading trying to label it as a feature. We don't know if that's actually the case now, and we're not going to for a little bit, it seems. They increased drop rates for chemical items in Koshi Complex in Building 21. They adjusted the UI when revealing safes to better indicate the location. You can grab a secure backpack and now explore the ruins of Zaya Observatory with a new barter system available in a closest buy station and a number of different other bug fixes. But honestly, that is the gameplay changes here with Season 5 Reloaded and what you can expect here going into it. So that is what we're going to call it. Wanted to fill you guys in and keep you up to date with everything you needed to know. Of course, we didn't really touch too much on the content aspect, but we've done that the last couple of videos, so don't want to harp too much on that or kind of have too much crossover, but that's the changes you can expect here jumping into Season 5 Reloaded. So let me know your thoughts down below. Like some of these changes, dislike some of these changes, whatever the case, feel free to let me know. If you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And of course, make sure to check out my friends over at G Fuel before we wrap everything up. Code Espresso getting you 30% off certain items in the month of August, like hype sauce, tubs, starter kits. Now's a great time to get a restock or try something out for the very first time. Code Espresso again, getting you 30% off certain items, link in the description below. But finally, make sure you subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2, Season 5 Reloaded, Modern Warfare 3, X-Defiant, and even more. We'll have you covered with all that kind of stuff. So love to have you in the community if you're at all interested. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.